Hello everyone and welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham with the breaking news that Antonio Conte has parted ways with Spurs as head coach, and what is more surprising is the person that has replaced him. So yes, I am Kieran. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to support the video over like, and please leave your comments below on this one, because the news that has come out of Tottenham Hotspur is that Antonio Conte is gone. I'll read the club statement. It's not a very long one. We can announce that head coach Antonio Conte has left the club by mutual agreement. We achieved Champions League qualification in Antonio's first season at the club. We thank Antonio for his contribution and wish him well for the future. Christian Stellini will take the team as acting head coach for the remainder of the season, along with Ryan Mason as assistant head coach. Daniel Levy, chairman, said, "We have won 10 Premier League, he said, we have 10 Premier League games remaining and we have a fight on our hands for a Champions League place. We all need to pull together. Everyone has to step up to ensure the highest possible finish for our club and amazing, loyal supporters." I mean, I think a lot of us knew the probability was he was going to go. We were all under the impression, and lots of us that get information from sources higher up the chain were all under the impression that Ryan Mason would be the man to take the reins until the end of the season. So Antonio Conte, like he does in every international break, he heads back to Italy to see his family. He wasn't expected back until Tuesday. That is now not going to happen. The amazing thing, Christian Stellini, you would thought that with Conte's removal as head coach, his staff would naturally leave. Now, I do understand that part of the sticking point with Conte leaving was negotiating the terms of his staff leaving as well. Conte obviously had the clause that I spoke about where Tottenham had an option to extend his contract by a year. But once he achieved a top four finish with Spurs at the end of this season, that then went into Conte's hands, and he was the decision maker to decide if he wanted to extend his contract by a year. We know there was managers that are out of work. I mean, I put a whole thing together. I was meant to be doing a video for everybody to talk about some of the potential candidates. I'm a little bit annoyed actually, because I've done a lot of research on some of them. Thomas Tuchel was one of the ones I did a lot of research on to get a full background, you know, sort of before he really came into his prime as a manager, and just see his playing styles over the years. And the thing I found interesting about Tuchel, I'm not saying he would have been the right manager for Spurs, but I love the fact that he is so adaptable. Unlike Conte, who doesn't have many formations that he plays about with, Tuchel loves playing about with formations. With Pochettino, we know what we would have been getting with him. It's understood that Pochettino wanted to weigh up his options in the summer. It's not just Tottenham that are in for him. Real Madrid are looking at him. Real Madrid were also looking at Tuchel. And apparently we hadn't actually made any contact with Tuchel whatsoever. But Tuchel obviously went Bayern Munich, which meant Julian Nagelsmann, I think it's Nagelsmann you pronounce it, has become available. Now, from what I'm hearing, he is interested in listening to what Tottenham have to say, but he doesn't want to do anything right now, which is probably why we've gone with an interim coach. It'd be stupid to bring someone like Nagelsmann in right now. He's just been sacked by Bayern, needs time to have a think about things. He's also on gardening leave, so why would he jump into anything? But there is an understanding that with that gardening leave, it would actually cost us money to get him in. But look, the news for now is that Conte has been sacked. So we'll talk about what Sky Sports have said. Tottenham have parted company with Antonio Conte after the Italian slammed his players as selfish after Saturday's 3-3 draw with Southampton. Spurs say that Conte's assistant Christian Stellini will be acting head coach for the rest of the season, with Ryan Mason assistant head coach. Conte departs Tottenham after 16 months in charge following an extraordinary rant against players after they threw away a 3-1 lead at rock-bottom Southampton to cap a miserable March for the club. It saw them dumped out of both the FA Cup and the Champions League to leave them without a trophy for another season stretching back to 2008. Then they talk about Daniel Levy's statement, which I've already read you. It then says Conte, whose contract was set to expire at the end of the season, told Sky Sports after the 3-3 draw last Saturday, "I'm not used to seeing this type of situation. I see a lot of selfish players and I don't see a team." He added in his post-match press conference, "We are 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players. I see players that don't want to help each other and put their heart in." And then obviously he went on to say the other bits about the collapse, saying because they are used to it here, they are used to it, they don't play for something important, they don't want to play under pressure, they don't want to play under stress, it's easy in this way. Tottenham's story is this: 20 years there is this owner and never won something, but why? The fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here. Wow. So there you go. Antonio Conte is out the door, gone. It's just so interesting that Christian Stellini has agreed to stay till the end of the season. I mean, for me, that means there was a conversation between Stellini and Conte themselves, because obviously they're friends, they've worked together for a long time. The conversation would have been along the lines of, look, you know, the players obviously know me, they've worked with me all season. He's more experienced than Ryan Mason, not in the sense of actually taking charge of a team, because obviously Ryan Mason has taken the reins at Spurs before, obviously for a shorter game span, but he did have to take charge in a cup final. But it'll be interesting to see what happens now, because Stellini obviously is used to working in Conte's system. Now, with the games that we had that Stellini took charge of, he did say in some of the press conferences they had to make some in-game decisions that weren't quite with the plan because of what happened during the game. So on-the-spot decisions that Conte hadn't spoken about before the game, they had to make decisions there and then within the games. It was also said that Ryan Mason was heavily involved in those changes that actually helped us to get over the line against, you know, Man City. But what will be interesting, does Stellini have his own system and way of playing? My guess is he's probably going to play with a similar system, but will he give the players more free rein? Will he be more attacking? This is something that, you know, nobody knows how we're going to play now. We've obviously seen Stellini under the charge of Antonio Conte, so there was always a plan set out at the beginning of a game. We've not seen Stellini be able to implement his own ideas of how he thinks the team should play. So this is going to be really interesting. I just honestly cannot believe that it's gone this way. Conte must have approved, for, not that he controls Christian Stellini, but there must have been his blessing to say, you know what, take charge. And my opinion is it will probably only be till the end of the season anyway. Despite any success that he has, it'll probably be that he'll go out the door at the end of the season, join back up with Conte for whatever the next job may be. But this is not the way we expected it. We all genuinely thought Ryan Mason was going to take charge, and there was a lot of split opinions on this, whether it was going to be a good thing or not. I actually watched a Ryan Mason interview the other day that he'd done. I can't remember what it was called now, but it was a really good interview, talking about the injury that ended his career, how good Tottenham had been with him after that, bringing him in, allowing him to coach, talking about how he still thought near on up to 2 years after his decision to retire that he was still trying to fool himself into the fact that he could come back as a professional footballer. It was a really good one. If you can find it on YouTube, just type in like Ryan Mason interview and scroll down. It's I think it's with one of the guys that is a commentator on BT Sport. I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that usually runs the big games, the presenter, not a former footballer. I'm sure somebody will know and put it below in the comments. But there you have it. Breaking news. Antonio Conte finally gone from Spurs. It had obviously gone too far. The conversations must have been that there was no chance he was going to come back. He'd lost the dressing room. For those of you that watched the games over the international break so far, Harry Kane was questioned about the Antonio Conte situation, and he didn't really want to say too much. But however, at no point did he say that he wanted Conte to stay. Some of the other players have actually come out and backed Conte, saying that they want to play under him, like Dejan Kulusevski. Harry Kane did not back his manager and say that he wanted him to stay. So was it a case that Harry Kane was one of these players that wanted Conte to go? And traditionally, we've seen him get on with all the managers. Jose Mourinho, the only one he hadn't was Nuno, which we spoke about in a previous video. But he didn't back his manager. So it does make you wonder, doesn't it, how much of a role a player like Harry Kane has had. We know there's been reports that players have gone to the chairman and some of the staff to say that they want Antonio Conte removed as Tottenham Hotspur manager. But I think, after the rant, it had become that kind of situation. For him to come back and manage that squad, I think even if he had a few of the players in there that really wanted to play for him and put their all in, the fact is, once you've lost a percentage of the dressing room, say you've got, 11 players out on the pitch, you're starting 11. If 4 of them haven't got your back, it's just pointless being manager. You can't have that many players out of an 11 on the pitch that just aren't in it for you anymore, not playing for you. They can play for the fans, they can play for themselves, but ultimately, if they're not playing for the manager, you're never going to get 100% out of them anyway. Mad one, absolute mad one. So this leaves up a crazy situation for the rest of the season. As I've said, it will be interesting to see what Christian Stellini is going to do. With Ryan Mason, we'd seen him in charge before, so we got a sense of an idea of what he was trying to do. It would have been interesting to see what he would have done, knowing that the players have been used to a certain way of playing for the last season and a half. That would have been interesting in itself to see if Mason would have reverted the team back to what he tried to do after he took over from Jose Mourinho. But Stellini, I mean, we can't even talk about how we're going to play because this is a complete unknown. Stellini has just been Antonio Conte's assistant. And when Antonio Conte hasn't been there, mostly he's been successful. For a while as Tottenham Hotspur interim manager then, he did very well. So, look, it'll be really interesting to see. I can't wait. I don't know why I'm so excited about this. I think it's because it's not what we expected at all. But yeah, this now means we've got time to think of a manager that we want to bring in the summer. I think the club were impressed with the way Stellini comes across in interviews. I know people that interview him like it. Alistair Gold is one of the people that has come out and said that Christian Stellini is very good to do press conferences with. So I think the club are happy with the way he carries himself. The players apparently really like him. And I think this will be a situation where we might be able to push ourselves into that top 4 because the players really stepped up in the absence of Conte whilst he was off recovering from his surgery. Yeah, I shouldn't be as excited as I am, but I really am. I genuinely think it's because it's not what I expected. But look, that's what it is. That is the news for today. What I'll start doing is working on the list of managers we could possibly bring in. Now, Tuchel's been snapped up by Bayern Munich. I'll have to do in-depth research on Nagelsmann. So we'll do a bit of that. Apparently, De Zerbi, by the sounds of it, has no interest whatsoever of leaving Brighton to go to any other club. I think the trajectory that they've gone on underneath him this season has been phenomenal. He's a manager that a lot of clubs will be looking at, but by the sounds of it, he would turn down Tottenham Hotspur if they were to come in, just because Brighton are in such a strong position, and he probably thinks that with a little bit of investment, he can take them onto new heights next season. So, yeah, there you have it. Antonio Conte, gone. I have been Kieran from Speaking Spurs. Thank you for sticking around. Definitely leave your comments below for us to continue talking about this one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to help it grow. Just hit it with a like afterwards. It takes 2 seconds just to hit like. If you've watched it, hit the like button. Honestly, I don't think you realise how much it helps the channel reach other people. And then, yeah, as always, leave your comments below. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed that one. Take care now. And as always, come on, you Spurs.